Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Argonauts. We're watching more Twin Peaks.
Welcome back.
Say hello to my broachy boys.
Hello to my broachy boys.
How are my broachy boys doing tonight?
I'm broaching, dude.
You just
Half a broach, all a boy. Once, twice, 3 times a broachy.
You once, twice, 3 times a broachy.
Broachies are forever.
Official Argonauts merch. That's twice 3 times the broachy.
So we just watched We Are Like the Dreamer. If you guys recall, it had a lot to do with our boy Andy from the Twin Peaks PD. They all went out to Jackrabbit Palace.
No, she's important. We need to take her someplace safe where she'll be protected.
Yeah,
Andy saw some shit.
Andy saw some shit, and then we saw some shit with that Tubula Rasa, or that blue rose that was inside the jail cell, and those other people that are like Officer Chad was talking. Fuck you. Yeah, the guy drooling out. Mocking him the whole time. It was such a weird part of that. It was like a weird collection of people all together.
Yes.
But we're moving into episode 15. We're getting close, guys.
Wow.
There's
what happens at the end?
Nobody knows.
What happens at the end for us? I guess we just, I don't know.
Keep going.
We merge with the White
Okay.
Lodge, guys.
Keep going with what, Eric? Please.
Reel to reel starts again, dude.
Oh shit!
A
What year
revamp-
is it?
Revamp
So
Reels
that
to
we be
Reels.
Popeye.
Be Popeye.
We gotta watch Popeye again.
Pouring out Shelley Duvall. Cold ones for Shelley.
Cold
No,
ones for
this-
Shelley.
This time it's cold ones for Robin.
Cold ones for Robin, dude.
Oh, we should
Shelley,
just do.
Shelley
We should
had
just
her
do.
moment.
We should watch every Robin Williams movie
Holy shit! That means we get to
Oh.
watch Jack.
and other ones you probably haven't seen.
Yes.
We gotta watch Mork and Mindy. That's what we gotta do.
Okay, I'd be down.
Including the backdoor pilot on Happy Days.
Spork and Cindy.
Okay, so we're going to be getting into the next episode 15 called There's Some Fear in Letting Go.
Is there?
According to this
Yes.
episode,
I would say so.
yeah, I'm excited for this one. I hope it has more Dougie. I hope some stuff happens with Dougie. I hope more Gordon and Albert stuff happen, because there was a good scene I remember with Tammy Preston. They discussed more Blue Rose stuff and Philip Jeffries. And if you remember from
Philip.
What Story Is That, Charlie? I think it was, where the guy that was killed by Doppelkoop in that weird warehouse with numbers. He talked about Philip Jeffries, or he was under direction of Philip Jeffries to give Doppelkoop that ring and the significance of that ring. And it's connecting a lot of those threads together that I appreciate. So, yeah,
Do you?
I do. I really do. A lot of people were like hung up on the Laura Palmer, like who killed her at the beginning of the show. But then, like, I love how it's such a crux. It's always the main focal point of, like, we know who killed Laura Palmer, but we don't know, like, what the
Laura
significance
Palmer now?
of Laura Palmer was.
But who killed Lorba?
Exactly. That's what we're figuring out. We're figuring out the significance of Lorba in The Return. That's what I'm enjoying the most. So, I guess if you have anything else to say, guys, let's jump into tonight's episode, huh?
The only thing I have to say is, if you're enjoying any of this visitation or revisitation to Twin Peaks, leave a comment. Give it a thumbs up. Give us a like. It'll help us out a lot to know who and how you want to engage with the episodes. And just thank you very much for being along here with us.
Well said. Well put. Broadshow, do you have something nice you want to say to everybody?
Yeah.
To open it up to the discussion, like I said, I think that the best thing about The Return is that very clearly David Lynch, I really don't think that he made this just on a whim. I think that he certainly had something to say, and whatever that was, he said it. And so it's really just up to us, even more than the first and second season. It's up to us to just sit here and be like, what the hell does that mean to me? And so me saying why in any of these aspects is kind of just to open it up to like the discussion between the three of us. Is I would be very curious to hear your thoughts on some of the stuff that happened and happens in front of us, because it is so baffling. And I know how I can like settle my own feelings on it, but I'm just curious to see how you go through that same process.
Like, how do you think any of it was compromised by like network constraints?
You mean the return?
Yeah.
Network constraints. No, because he was on Showtime, and
Showtime was on his ass.
I was going to say yes and no. I think
he said
yes.
what he wanted to say, but I think he would have said it differently had fucking Showtime not been as up his ass as they were.
Yeah, and maybe there's a thing underlying there that is outside of his control that's like a rights issue, because maybe Showtime couldn't license the old footage from the... Because I don't think that we've directly seen any footage, like film from the previous series. I think it's just been like maybe still photos of like, the picture of Laura.
We might have.
I could be wrong about that.
We did see, Laura crying at the door from Fire Walk with Me, wasn't she?
But that's Fire Walk with Me. That's a movie that David Lynch made on his own, separate from the production of the television show for CBS, whatever.
Right, and the Philip Jeffries stuff was from Fire Walk with Me. So
the separation, to me, yeah, I don't know, Eric, but I think that this was, yeah, I definitely think that. I know, but he was the one who was he asked the question of, and I just think that like, it's yes and no. I think that yes, I think he got an opportunity to say a lot of what he wanted to, but you can see behind the scenes footage of him just like bemoaning maybe the schedule that they were wanting him to keep, or how quickly they wanted to see results from him. And he wasn't satisfied with that. Like, he felt like he was rushed. So yeah, maybe he didn't get to say the things he wanted to in the way that he did, because it wasn't on the timetable. Who's to say what the differences were? But it was just an isolated, like, out of context kind of thing too. Like, we don't know the full context of what he wanted to do in that scene. I just know that they're like, we have to do this by this time, and he's like, well, we have no time to be dreamy and do things at a specific pace. Yeah, he likes things to breathe
the way he wants to do it.
Yeah. So I mean, no, I don't think overall that the network was like tying him down on specific things. Like, he got to experiment and he got a lot through, right? But like, we saw the vision there. Like, it's definitely his vision. I think the network knew that. Like, hey, we're bringing David Lynch on, but hey, let's tour. Let him cook. Let's hog tie him. And like, let's make him do what we want, right? Let's see if he goes for that, because I totally think he would. So he obviously has some pull in Hollywood, and he definitely got to do exactly what his vision was. And I think if this is what he wanted, it's what he if this is what he wanted the audience to witness, he fulfilled that without any kind of oversight from a studio. They probably added certain things and tightened things up and whatever with editing. He maybe just didn't get to go as far with certain things as he might have wanted to, or do them in the way that he wanted to. Right. And but yeah, I think you're right. So let's get into this episode. Good episode, I thought. A great episode, especially for the send off of Margret Lanterman. Oh man. Which hit us towards the end of the episode, actually. Like, there's a lot of doppelkoop stuff and things like that. So
what was cool with this episode too is it kind of bounced in between classic peaks and like fucking new peaks, like David Lynch fucking up in his business peaks, you know what I mean? Yep. You went from a classic peak style scene with fucking Big Ed and Norma That's double R. And then you go right into fucking Ganger going to fucking the convenience store and all that shit. And I was just like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's a good tonal shift. It's like we get these tying up loose ends kind of
It
things with
melded
Nadine.
the two tones pretty well. It melded the two tones pretty well.
Yeah, this for how much the tone can jump around scene to scene for Twin Peaks, maybe as far as the return is concerned, this felt like one of the more cohesive tones of the general episode. Like it,
yeah, and it
it's,
blended both styles of Peaks very
Yes.
well.
Yes,
I think.
I agree.
I agree. So we had Norma talking with Big Ed. She walks all the way to his gas station and
Nadine talks to Big Ed.
spills the Nadine.
Not Norma.
This
But
was
talks
written.
talks about Norma saying like I was in the way of you guys and I was being a little bitch or whatever she says.
She dug
I was
herself out of the shit. She dug herself out of the shit. And then fucking she realized after she dug herself out of the shit, fucking just let Big Ed do Big Ed, dude. Let him fucking
So
would have been nice about 25 go, but fucking go, dude.
Kevin Cooper, that scene a little bit was written very, very much like their old interactions, where it's like Nadine says something and he's like, "Huh? Yeah, Ed. Wait, you what? You like that
What's
back and
that,
forth.
Nadine?
And,
She's
and
being
so that,
real earnest, and he's like, I don't know if this is like for real or if she's gonna fucking flip.
are you off your meds or?
Yeah.
Have you been listening to that Jacoby radio show?
Yeah,
Classic Big Ed Nadine stuff.
that old Jacoby show again. You know I
Jacoby.
have. And
So after hearing the
Yeah.
news that she's cool with Norma, he's like, heck yeah, dust myself off, get into that diner.
it seems like we can read more directly now the metaphor of shoveling yourself out of the shit as being like shutting off your delusions or the things that you maybe were like keeping yourself fooled with, or
I was gonna say this is the first
pulling
time
the
it's
wool
felt like
off your own eyes.
this is the first time it's felt like a cogent thing other than just Jacoby fucking spouting his shit. I was like, oh shit, this actually translated to something that makes sense. Nadine dug herself out of her shit.
Yep.
And fucking that lets Big Ed be free because she was still in her shit, even though she realistically wasn't still in that fucking relationship like she probably wanted to be. Fucking she kept herself in it that whole time, and it was just like, yeah, she finally realized, like, just fucking live and let live, dude. Fucking
What did she say? Like the something about like when you love somebody, the way that you treat them is to like make them happy or like do what makes them happy.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what she
she was
says.
just too caught up in
Yeah.
her own shit from the get go. That was like the first thing we learned about or when we saw Nadine was her getting wrapped up in her own shit because of the blinds. The blinds were the things that hung her up in her own shit that we first saw, right? And like, and when you think back on it now, after she dug herself out of the shit, what has she been in this whole time? Since the return, she's been in the fucking silent blind shop, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
a very good point.
symbolically her still in her shit, right?
Still buried it. Yeah, she's
Well,
still buried in all that.
we talked about
herself out, still preoccupied with that, preoccupied with her own shit.
in that episode
She's
where
finally
she
dug herself out of it.
talked to Jacoby. We saw that kind of symbolism of the silent drape runners automatically moving in front of the shovel. That's the
shovel, yeah.
shit digging
That's-
shovel. So
That's the
there's
shit. And the shovel's there too, and then the silent drape runners move to unveil the shovel. It's like the shovel is fucking digging her out of the shit right there. The shit is the fucking silent drape runners, and then fucking yeah.
it's analogy wrapped in metaphor,
Yeah,
just
that-
for
that-
Nadine.
Yeah, that plays to that motif even more. I didn't think about that.
So then we got the final, like a really great rekindling of this. I mean, it's
Big
great.
Ed.
It's great that they finally got that for themselves, and a great little smile from.
Like I
Sheila.
said, Could have happened 25 years ago, but
Like a smile.
But then the tonal shift here. Remember the tonal shift, like the bright sky and the end
Hanging out
of the
broad shows.
Otis
Broad
Redding
shows.
song, and then the highway.
Yep.
Yep.
We're on the highway to the Broad Show zone. You know.
So yeah, the convenience store broad show zone, and yeah, we get Doppelkoop visiting this convenience store with all the woodsman dudes.
Where the bros hang out, dude. Where all the lodge people hang out. We saw it in Fire Walk with Me first, right?
You saw it.
You saw it in Fire Walk with Me first with the broad shows and fucking Bob and all those fuckers hanging out.
Yeah, I think the arm was hanging out there. The jumping man
was there.
So yeah, it's essentially you see the woods kind of bleeding through into this house, so it's like a spectral kind of nexus zone that shows up that allows evil things or kind of unsightly things that probably aren't of this world to seep into the reality or to our reality.
Pierce the veil.
Piercing of the veil.
It's a nexus point between dimensions.
And then so yeah, he's gonna go talk to Philip Jeffries, and we have a backwards
The
talking.
giant fucking Dalek teapot.
Yeah, and we've seen machinery like this with the giant, you know, and it's making its own little smoke orbs, right? It's
right.
communicating through orbs. So like when I see orbs and like halos or some kind of structure like that, it reminds me of when the giant was, you know, bleeding, or you know, the gold thought bubbles popped out of his head, and he conjugated, or he kind of came up with the idea of Laura Palmer, right, in his head.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think Philip Jeffries is in some kind of a cocoon of sorts, or in a it's like an iron lung, but it only speaks through the teapot steam and makes little orbs, and he communicates by showing him the numbers and things like that. At least that's my baseline interpretation of how they're filling in the Philip Jeffries absence of David Bowie.
We're at it. Yeah, I totally see that. We're at a point, like we were saying, where I haven't seen this at this point. So these are my first reactions to this stuff. So it's hard for me to focus on a deeper thing than what's, you know, face value presented to me in some things. So in this scene, I was just wrapped up in the question of what the fuck with Philip Jeffries. Is like, why is he Tea Kettle? Are the other Blue Rose guys? Is fucking Chris Isaac fucking here as a Tea Kettle too? Like, what's going on? Is this like an in between stop between this, you know, our dimension and the fucking lodge shit, and they have to stay at this motel until they're fucking whatever? Like, my mind the whole time was questions more so than trying to, you know, than finding anything deeper, you know.
Tyler said something at the very beginning of this, and what you're talking about right now, I'd like to just bring it up to possibly tie it all together. Just like, again, I don't try to offer any solid answers. This is just how I feel, having you know, listen to the final history, final dossier, all this different stuff.
Right.
I think what I feel like might be going on is this teapot is like a down the line evolution or step of somebody who has. So somebody enters or interacts with the Black Lodge, or some of those spirits, something like that, or not even the Black Lodge, but this other world of all of these different places where you could end up, but just someplace that's not the like prime material plane. Because in Fire Walk with Me, we saw like when they're talking about like, Philip Jeffries disappeared in Buenos Aires. He was like on, or like it was just like a staircase, and then he just appeared, and he was like from a little tantrum, and then he just bopped back out. So he was investigating Judy. He probably at some point had some kind of interaction, possibly like Dale, where he found a point in Buenos Aires or at some part of the world where he crossed over or did something.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got closer than maybe he expected to or than he should have, and I think that the Philip Jeffries that appeared back in Philadelphia at the FBI office was a tulpa that was created by somebody or just created and went there and gave this message, and then it just disappeared, and that's why they were like, what the fuck, he's totally gone.
Maybe it was like the left imprint of Philip Jeffries or his last like put out of energy before he fucking gets taken or some shit, right?
Well, the reason that I say why I think it's a tulpa is because from what you said, Tyler, like the turning into gold.
Yeah.
I think that how can I put this plainly? I think that when the Black Lodge or when this other world, when a tulpa is created as to be, okay, we're making a copy of a personality. We're taking A and making a clone of it, and that clone is the tulpa. That tulpa, its essence, is that little gold ball. So when the tulpa fulfills its duty or gets sent back to the Black Lodge or like is defeated or whatever you want to call it, is sent to its like reset cycle, it turns back into this little gold orb.
Yeah.
So why she would say my log is turning into gold is because maybe not a tulpa.
The log was a tulpa.
Yeah, like the log was the tulpa of her husband.
Exactly.
Her husband's spirit was like so stalwart or strong that it continued after death and was able to speak to her and help her and be this like spirit guide. But it instead of having a tulpa body of like a recreation of a human thing,
Well,
he just like was able to inhabit the spiritual wood that he cut down and was
exactly.
I don't know.
He was that was an extension of him. So he was probably a whole tree. Let's say
he was able.
The tulpa was a full tree, but she found the log. It was like she took
like
the log
after
a
death,
branch fell.
He was able to like go to this one log, and then the log just went through the like sawmill and got cut up or something. Or, yeah, who knows? So I think that the teapot is Philip Jeffries. Was a tulpa, went to the Philadelphia office, disappeared. That gold nugget, wherever it went, it got shunted back, let's say, to the Black Lodge. And then from there, they just sent it off to another part of the, cosmos. And over time, that tulpa little gold ball developed into this teapot.
And we've seen, like I said, we've seen machinery like this. Remember in that blue or that purple ocean kind of place, that kind of cliffside fortress.
Maybe the Gold Orb goes to like Tyler was saying earlier as well, like it was a cocoon. Maybe that's where Gold Orb goes to become fully formed, whatever it is afterwards, whatever spirit or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Like it's complete. That's just my interpretation. Very loose.
How I know we're all very into this right now is that I think this is the most we've talked over each other on this whole thing.
We all have the ideas. We all have ideas.
At that, but it because it is like because then in my mind then is it the Black Lodge that is sending the tulpa or is it the White Lodge sending the tulpa of Philip Jeffries to aid?
It could be either or neither. And the only reason that I'm doing a majority of the loudest talking is because like Bracho, you've never seen the whole of The Return, and Tyler, you have not. Like
exciting right now because it's like this idea or this circumstance hasn't been presented to me yet. So seeing it created so many questions, and then just thinking about the general lore of peak stuff is like. Yeah, so what is it? What does it mean? Why is it here? What is, and not even just the significance of the Tea Kettle thing, but just the rundown motel thing itself. Is it supposed to be like a fucking purgatory type thing, like an intermediary thing between this realm, this dimension, and the lodge. You know what I mean? Or is it just, what it is?
I've always kind of felt like it was like the like if we want to look at it as like a multiversal thing where it's like these are different,
Yeah.
not
waypoint.
necessarily like
Like a
connected.
motel is like a waypoint between where you're at and your destination.
Well,
Yeah.
if we want to say the convenience store is one location, if the teapot room is another location, if the red room, if these are all different locations, maybe it's like the Yggdrasil thing where it's like, just different branches of a tree where they're all a part of this greater web, but they're not necessarily connected to each other. But you can find ways to like navigate that greater pool.
And the interesting thing then too is a convenience store or a gas station like that is also similarly like a motel, a waypoint, like a stopping point on your journey, right? It's a so like yeah, I don't know. Am I just seeing too much symbolism in it, or is it?
No,
you know what I mean?
That's true because we do know about the waiting room. There's the waiting room area.
Stop between. It's not a permanent. It's not a permanent stop, right? A convenience store, gas station, and a motel are both things that you stop at on your way from one point to another.
That's
right?
the definition of a liminal space is someplace that is just between 2 points of a journey, basically. Yeah.
That's why we've talked about, even in the original series, we've talked about how that red room is called the waiting room. So it's like you're being tested, or
it's
something.
Like everything we've seen so far has not been the actual place. It's been waiting for that actual place, or in between this place and that place.
Right, and I like how you can keep that separate, like the White Lodge and Black Lodge we will never see, because those are those points of definite finality. So it's like somebody enters the White Lodge, somebody enters the Black Lodge. We can't.
It's always transitional points. It's always transitional points.
Yeah.
When you guys think of like a place that you may have an appointment, whether that be a doctor's office and like some kind of office or something like that, do you think of the end destination? Do you recall that place as the office that you spend time in, or as like the waiting room that you spent the majority of your time sitting in?
The memory is always, for me, the waiting room, because of the fact of that's like in my mind or whatever, that's like the end point of the destination, right? That's where I'm stopping.
You spent the most time too, so that's where the most memories were created in your brain.
And it's not the most time, the most like I don't want to say purposeless, but purposeless time, as in like you're there waiting to get to the doctor, and like the doctor's appointment may end up taking longer than you were in the waiting room, but you're actively engaged in something in that, so it doesn't feel as long as like sitting in the waiting room waiting. Because sometimes I'm in the waiting room for like a minute, you know what I mean, or 2 minutes, but like the waiting room is always like, yep, here I am again, this waiting room that I've been in all the time, you know what I mean?
And here's like in the original season 1 and 2, what was the biggest waiting room that we saw? Almost constantly, almost every, I think probably every single episode we saw it. There's two, honestly. There's two of them. The double R and
the Roadhouse.
The Great Northern. Hey, the Roadhouse is a great option number 3 too, because all three of those, they're not someplace that you necessarily end up. Like, yes, you rest your head at the Great Northern, but you're only staying there to go somewhere else. You know, like a hotel's the same way, like you said, Bradshaw. So we've had that theme, or we've had playing in that world, and that's why, like, I think you were asleep for some of this, Eric, but Tyler and I, when we would see like
he was in the Dream Soul, Wilson.
He was visiting us as the Dream Soul. Yeah. But when the Great Northern, the lobby would be filled with what looked to be maybe like members of a marching band or like naval officers or something, and every single one of them is bouncing these pink rubber balls. You get to and you see these groups reappear, like not reappear, but like every time it's like a different group, and it's like, well, what happened to the last group? Or we started asking these questions of like, what is the nature of this physical space in the real world, and how does that help correlate with these things that we're seeing in the ethereal parts of the show?
The Great Northern, by all intents and purposes, is a lodge, right? So it's like it's a lodge in the real world.
Wow, that's a really good point.
Right?
Almost as if they unknowingly have built something in the image of something else.
Yeah.
And they've built it out of like spiritual wood. You know what I mean?
What is decorated inside it? What do you see? You see a lot of totem-esque looking things.
Josie, I see your face.
Well, yeah, not just Josie, but the spirits of the wood that are built, with those spirits. Like the whole structure is probably built with the spirits that are in the woods. So that's why they have like totem iconography and things like that in there.
I do like to think that when Margret says that death is not the end, it's just a change. That we've heard Major Briggs talk about the White Lodge being a place that can only be accessed through like expressions of love and living your life with no fear and with just like love for your fellow man.
That's our Major Briggs right there.
And I feel like she has exemplified a lot of that. Maybe not all of the time, because she has certainly done a couple spiteful things when she fucking spits out her gum or is like shushing people or whatever. But she very much is somebody who is on the side of good, is a loud voice for here's who needs help, here's how we can help them.
Oh yeah, she's definitely a mystic warrior. She's a mystic warrior for sure.
Yeah, so I like to think that maybe Margret, when she passes, with her log turning into gold, whatever that's supposed to mean, her change is one of a change into something near the realm of the White Lodge, where she's able to inhabit a space or change into something positive. And I take some solace in that for our log lady.
Yeah, those are sweet words. I have nothing really to add to that, other than let's kind of continue with this episode, and we'll get to the Margret portion, but we have Richard showing up with a gun.
Old Dickie.
And Dickie shows up and wants to pull a gun on this doppelkoop here, and gets the shit kicked out of him.
I know who you are. I saw you. You're an FBI agent.
And Broadshow hotboxes a convenience store.
Oh, dude.
And then we have a really weird scene here where the two tweakers are sitting in a forest and just muttering nothings. The dude pulls a gun out and he's tripping like crazy in this forest.
Yeah, clearly he's high on something.
And the forest is beautiful though. Like the juxtaposition here is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's really overwhelming, the two of them, like that they're in this forest and maybe they're being judged by these spirits in the trees or something like that, and they just can't take it. And this guy's like,
maybe
I gotta put this bullet in this clip here, and
I gotta put this bullet in this gun.
And so this dog walker walks on this little path by them and kind of spooks them, and then he is so tweaked out of his mind that he shoots himself. And then the girl just sits there kind of freaked out at the whole situation. And then we get ZZ Top, and we get some good dance moves here. And then James shows up with Greenhand. And it's the craziest scene where Greenhand kind of like cocks his fist and just shotgun blasts these guys. It sounds like
a gunshot when he punches these people.
It sounds otherworldly. It's like the giant told this British kid to go to Twin Peaks so he can, I don't know, save the world, essentially. Like, he needs to go here. Like,
You got to go there and fight crime.
It was an origin story of a superhero, basically, and shows up at Twin Peaks and starts punching dudes in the face with his shotgun fist.
Yep.
Very interesting character. Very on the nose of like what Twin Peaks is about. Is just a strange character with a strange ability of some kind, like Log Lady. You know, she can talk to logs, and the logs give truth. This guy has a green hand that he cannot take off, and he can solve disputes by just bopping him in the face and putting him into intensive care.
By punching people.
And
in
we
the face.
got Wilson here.
Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know why. I want you to... Can you crawl on the ground and cry like a baby?
Then we get a really crazy scene with Chantel showing up, and Chantel pops that guy in the head. I forgot what his name was, like Todd, Mr. Todd, something like that.
It was the warden. It was Warden...
No, this guy, and sitting in the desk. Was it Mr. Todd?
Oh, no, that wasn't Chantel, was it? It was somebody else.
That shot this guy just now? No, it was Chantel that shot him. That boxed in. Yeah.
Is that Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yes.
Oh, I guess I just didn't recognize her with a different haircut.
She shows her face when she walks back when the guy is,
Yeah, I just like in that quick second I didn't notice that it was her. But yes, they were ordered to kill him. I remember that now.
So yeah, tying up loose ends, I guess. So Chantal and I forgot the other dude's name. What was his name?
Hutch.
Yeah, Hutch. They mentioned it a few times. So then Shotgun Fist here and James get locked up for the night by Bobby and Hawk. And we got a crazy scene with the Blue Rose person just chirping and this guy going. And then interesting Tim Roth and Jennifer Jason Leigh eating burgers again, talking about random stuff. I gotta sneeze here quick.
Bless you.
And continuing on with the story here, we get Dougie eating some cake. And a great scene that comes up with a realization that we've been waiting for. And I think since Bracho hasn't seen up until this point, it was kind of maybe a surprise to him that he's like putting things together. He's figuring things out. He's almost there. He's almost shed the Dougie persona, which is maybe a bittersweet moment for Bracho, but it's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
So he's futzing with the little remote here every once in a while after a bite, and he eventually turns it on to a Sunset Boulevard, another harkening back to when David Lynch did his version, sort of, with Mulholland Drive. He kind of is inspired by the same kind of concepts and ideas, and basically the title, is the naming of a prominent street in Los Angeles, where movies are made, and it's about a movie star, and so is Mulholland Drive. I guess it's about the Hollywood journey and rise to fame, fall from grace, things like that. But a character says Gordon, and we get a realization of Dougie. Like, whoa, perfect framing right here.
Whoa.
He's like, what?
Gordon Cole?
Gordon Cole? Huh? So after that realization, he decides to put his fork in the outlet. So he goes right into it. Which scares everybody in the house, Sonny, Jim, and everyone. And then after that, we get a good shot of this kitchen. That's kind of nice. I got KitchenAid mixer and the owl always looming over the situations. We get the Margret scene where the light's on in her cabin, and then Hawk takes the call, and she talks about, I'm dying, and remember what I told you, and the transitionary, about death, to Hawk, who is of a culture that does believe in a reincarnation of sorts, of like going back into a pureness of energy and just changing. And it was kind of a lovely send off for her. And then to kind of capstone it, like Wilson said, was kind of put the button on it, was the light going out in the cabin.
Yeah.
Kind of a sweet moment. And then out of the darkness too, it seemed, when the clouds go over the moon here, we have a dark conference room with the one door leading out in the hallway, and Truman here looking at some trout or some fish on his computer. And then Hawk comes out of the darkness behind the table over here, which is even spookier, it seems. Like he just
It
enters
just comes out of the
from
darkness. And
that darkness.
he's been off contemplating, like, I'm just waiting to share the news with everybody.
Right. It's a very sweet, kind of solemn moment here. Oh, I didn't notice that. Look at Lucy's got an owl on her little locket down there.
Oh, she does. Yeah. Wow.
A straight
Good
up,
eye.
straight up owl.
Would not have noticed that.
Maybe it's a token that Andy put on her, so she'll always be safe.
Evil against evil.
And moments like this, everybody just, stands in quiet remembrance, and, Frank? Yeah, Frank. Wait, no. Who's this guy's, Truman's name again? Is it Franklin?
Frank. Yeah, I believe it's Frank.
I remember because I'm listening to the Secret History and knowing that their dad named them after presidents. I have to remember Franklin. That's his name. So
Harry S. Truman should be too hard to remember.
And then he takes his hat off, and that was kind of a nice moment too. Just give some respect.
I should shut my computer so the bass doesn't get sad.
The bass doesn't get sad.
Sad bass.
Yeah, I didn't notice Bradshaw left the chat, but okay.
Yeah, I think he maybe had an issue, but
okay. Well, we'll continue. If he comes back, great. We get another transitionary moment where Hawk is actually bowing a little bit, and then we go over the forests. And, yep, the light goes out in the cabin. And then from there, we get the Audrey and Charlie scene that we've all been waiting for again. I don't know if this is the end of this kind of spat between them, because she, like, ramps it up to another level by the end of this. Because they've been kind of, like, feuding back and forth, like, you wanted to go to the roadhouse, Audrey.
I've got my jacket on. I've got my coat on. I'm standing here. Are you gonna nag me to death here at the threshold?
Put on your jacket, Audrey. Like, he's not gonna leave until she puts on her jacket. That's kind of like a weird stance, a weird hill to die.
She had it on before.
I
mean, she made such a point of fucking everybody's got to have their jackets on before we go to the roadhouse.
It's
so
like, do they even? Does she?
These are your rules, babe.
Do either of them really, like? Does she really want to go to the roadhouse? I know he's reluctant to go to the roadhouse with her, but like, does she actually want to go? Like, I'm starting to think like she's just making excuses to like say we should do this, but then not want to do it because she just wants to fight with him. Like, that's her main motive.
That's why I'm saying I think it would be interesting to watch all of these Audrey scenes back to back to back, because yeah, I think you're right. I think that she is making such a big stink because she wants to be seen as the person who cares, and she wants to be seen as the person of action. Like she used to be, like the person who would like, go to One-Eyed Jack's undercover and try to expose this stuff, or handcuff herself to the door of the bank. But she's fighting for something in this scenario to be like showing a higher moral upper ground or something like that. So she's like, we gotta go look after Billy. But then when faced with it, she's not exactly ready for it. So she's like trying to stall and not finding ways to not actually go through with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
an
She's
interesting
like
kind
the
of
Audrey of old.
yeah, an interesting kind of deviation from the story. And he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna sit down here and
I've taken my jacket off.
I'm
Time
settling
to sit
in.
down.
I'm tired, Audrey. I got a lot of work to do.
It's late. We got an old-fashioned couch that has feet on it.
And then she
Oh,
just
look at his face.
lunges at the poor guy. And she's like, I hate you so fucking much.
It's gonna kill him.
And, we
And
get
then
a discordant song just blaring while I forgot her name.
well, this young woman has a fucking terrible time.
Yeah, she's just waiting for somebody, she says, and then some bikers show up and they're like, all right, let's get her out of here.
Let's just pick her up and put her on the floor.
They weren't mean. They were just like, we need to sit here more than you do. Like,
I mean, they were mean in the way of being like, hey, we're going to disregard what you said to us and just move you and treat you like you don't matter.
yeah.
But all in all, they were as like, I honestly was remembering this as like, oh shit, she's going to get assaulted. Like, she's like, that's why she ends up on the floor. Or like, I didn't remember what they did to her. So when they just picked her up and put her on the floor, it was like, you know, that could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
So
They could have,
yeah,
they could have
shame
took her
on them
glasses.
for treating somebody like that in the first place. But yeah.
They could have took the glasses off her face and snapped them in front of her and just like chucked them in the bin and like threw a lit cigarette at their face or something.
I mean, we've seen how people get treated at the Roadhouse, like in Fire Walk with Me. So, you know,
Yep.
like sexual assault.
Yes, exactly.
And so, yeah, this scene is disconcerting just because like her reaction to what happened is, yeah, like you can be upset, but the way that it's shot and the extents that she goes to is
It's like
Comes off horrific.
there he is. Yeah, like it comes off like
I thought
her life got like thrown upside down, and she is completely in like a fugue state right now, and she's just, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe this happened to me. And she starts crawling around while this screaming guy like
look at these fucking musical goblins up here.
they're
Like-
seriously an aesthetic. Like they found
Yes.
like what's a new folk, I don't know, freak folk country.
What would be
Raj.
what would be the most appropriate but upsetting thing to hear at the Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Yep. Some weird like southern garage rock stuff.
Sludge rock.
But they're dressed like, you know, they want to be
Toxic rock.
cowboys.
It's their doofuses.
Little blur smear frame here.
I'll blur
And,
your smear frame, dude.
She just continues to walk on her hands and knees really slowly, and then after the song finishes, she just kind of freaks out.
Yep.
And he's like, "What's going on?" And she just lets it out. She must really enjoy the song. Maybe that's the message we take away here. She's just like, "Yes, I freaking love this song.
I love these guys.
Play more."
I want it more. Louder.
Yeah, maybe with more context I can understand this. But like you said with the Audrey scenes, maybe we put together all the Roadhouse, like little vignettes that have happened.
Oh wow, that'd be a good one.
Because then we could find like the start and end of like, because maybe these aren't happening around, well, this one obviously is happening at a certain point in time. Well, I guess we don't know for sure.
Well, I mean,
Because
yeah,
they were
it's
playing
like,
ZZ Top before with the James stuff, but this one could have happened anytime in the chronological order of these little vignettes that happen towards the end of the episodes.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly seems like maybe there can be there are conversations that can be followed easier. Like, what's the start and end of the conversation, etc.
Yep, exactly. So that was. Do you remember? There's some fear in letting go. That's the episode.
Cold ones for Log Lady.
Cold ones again for Log.
Cold ones for Margret. Cold ones for Catherine. However you want to say it.
Mhm.
Cold ones for a girl.
The next episode is No Knock, No Doorbell. Episode 16. And after that, we have 2 more left, guys.
Crazy.
We're going to be making it into almost, if we continue at this pace, doing 1 a week. Getting close to October, the spooky month, so it's like almost when we started watching the original series. You remember?
Yeah.
We started watching kind of in the fall, because it's very much a fall kind of vibe. I wouldn't mind just rewatching the first episode again too, the pilot episode, after we finish this.
Lorba.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to what we were talking about before when we had the big tangent with the convenience store and this weird motel lodge kind of space with Philip Jeffries. I throw it out to people watching this to give us your interpretation. You've heard us talk about this Philip Jeffries and the tulpas and all this other stuff and the significance of maybe what this could be. I want to know what other people's ideas of this is, and if it, if you agree with some stuff we said, or maybe can extrapolate on what we imagine this to be, definitely let us know. Tell us we're wrong. Tell us what you think, or that you read, or whatever else. I'd just love to hear other people's interpretation of what the significance of this is, or if they even care. But I think it's notable. It's interesting because it goes back to Fire Walk With Me and the original series, and where these people like Philip Jeffries or Chet Desmond, where they all went, and what part of their transition or part of their journey this is. So yeah, I'd like to throw it out to people watching. Leave in the comments what you think, and let us know, and we'll kind of talk in the next episode if we do receive other people's comments about this. We'll make note of it, and that's pretty much all we have to say about this episode. So stay tuned for episode 16, part 16. No knock, no doorbell. Anything else to add, guys?
Not it.
Ad guys. Mad men. Ad people?
People?